You met him before?
No, I meant that's the guy who's going to pray.
Oh, yeah.
Not your.
Yeah. And you're... And you'll do the pledge.
Okay.
All right.
I'll try to remember.
Okay, we ready? Hello and welcome to the St. Charles County Council meeting of December 2nd, 2019. Start off the meeting, we're going to have our invocation led by Steve Below from the O'Fallon Christian Church. Following that, the pledge will be led by Councilman Elam. Everybody rise.
Let's pray. Father God, as we come tonight and gather together to seek your counsel, guide our meeting, guide the thoughts, as many decisions have to be made. Father, we ask that your mercy and grace be upon this place as we present ideas and listen well. Guide us to enhance our community and its people. We ask your blessing upon this time, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Brazel. Councilmember Elam.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Hollander.
Here.
Councilmember Schneider. Here.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a public hearing on the St. Charles County budget for 2020. Are there any speakers on that?
Arnie Dienoff.
All right.
Thank you very much, members of council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, and I'm a county public advocate, and I'm also a county resident. First of all, what I'd like to testify about the 2020 proposed budget is the following. We need to cut back, as some council members have suggested, 10%. The county needs to live within its own means of operations. What that means is the revenue stream, like St. Charles County families work on a budget, you need to work and live within a budget and stop putting it on the backs of 440,000 taxpayers. Now, the county is in good financial condition. Despite what Mr. Schnarr, the Director of Finance, who's your hired gun, tells you meeting after meeting. This year alone, we have 1.5% increase in sales tax to 2% increase in sales tax. We have 20,000 new residences. Look at the building construction permits. We have new construction going on the tax rolls after 1 month of occupancy by the county assessor at 32% assessed evaluation. Now, my question to the county council is, what kind of transparency are you trying to set up here? There needs to be a more transparent and open government. These budget hearings have been very short meetings, and the dates, there's been small time dedicated to talking about the budget. It's always rush, rush, rush. For some reason, we don't have a committee process in our county council, which is much different than other governments across the country. You never get through all the information and facts, and you always cut the speakers short. Prime example is Joanne Lycum, and the new director of human resources. You cut her off and cut her short because you had to go to the county council meeting. It's time to start fresh and start early and talk about these important decisions that affect all of our families. You never get through the information as it's posted. There was no posting of the budget in the county council packet, which I think is a crying shame when residents come and testify for the 2020 proposed budget. It wasn't in the council packet. Now, there's some things that are pondering on my mind here. The county wants to form this year a county port authority, which I'm highly opposed to. The county executive wants to hire an executive director, similar to St. Louis County, an assistant executive director, an economic development specialist, and a administrative assistant. That'll cost over $500,000 plus the legal capabilities to form a port authority. Legal settlements of the county. You need to start making sound management decisions in closed session, offer people settlements before they go to court, and we pay out high settlements of county taxpayer money. The airport is in a floodplain. It's the wrong place to put an airport. We keep paying millions upon millions of dollars to fix and repair each season during the flood. Lobbyists, the county pays 3 lobbyists $250,000 to represent us in Jefferson City when we have a contingent of 13 state representatives and 2 state senators who are supposed to represent us, plus the chief of staff, who's also a full-time lobbyist, as registered by Missouri Ethics Commission, Steve Ellman, and the director of administration, Joanne Lycum. They can represent us in Jefferson City. The medical examiner, going from the contract with St. Louis County to our own medical examiner, has cost taxpayers millions of dollars. It fell way short of the savings to taxpayers. The county executive staff is way out of control, and you pay them well over $125,000. And in the case of the director of administration, $195,000 plus perks, benefits, mileage reimbursement, travel, memberships, and a pension. The Green Light Project, over $10 million to date, and it hasn't decreased traffic in St. Charles County. It's a pork project, and it doesn't do our citizens good. Contracts handing out to friends without putting it out for bid is questioned. Let's have more audits from the county auditor to save money, cut down on fraud. The $140 million to the $150 million for the county jail. This doesn't make sense. I think you should scrap your idea of doing the improvements and maybe looking at a new building and saving taxpayer money. County employees, they have bad wages, and you are not going to give them a pay raise. The benefits and a horrible pension in terms of court employees. Those court employees put in the bread and butter of operating our courts, and if they have 2 children, they have to be on food stamps and public assistance just to make ends meet. While Steve Ellman gets a teacher's pension, a legislative pension, a judicial pension, and now a logger's pension. We have waste, fraud, and abuse, and as Mr. Hammond recommended, I recommend also the 10% decrease across every department in terms of expenses and a decrease of employees. You need to give up the trips, the airfare, the meals, the exotic meals, and the tickets to sporting events. We should bring in county engineers in-house rather than spend millions upon millions of dollars of contracting it out and giving contracts to political friends of yours. Vehicle purchases. We need to keep them longer, maintain them, and repair them. And we need to buy our vehicles and support our families right here in St. Charles County with the Chevy dealership and the Ford dealerships. The county executive's new vehicle, just ludicrous. I asked that he turn in the keys to the police department because it's outlined with police lights and sirens, and that the police use it out on the front lines and not to drive around the county executive. Your council pay is $18,750 plus medical, plus pension, plus mileage, plus cell phone, plus staff, plus expenses and mileage reimbursement. I ask that you cut your budget by 25%. I ask that you cut Joanne Lycum's budget by 25%, making $195,000 a director of administration, which is $65,000 more than the director of administration for the state of Missouri and the governor of the state of Missouri, that has 6 million people, residents, and over 55,000 state employees. Now, 70% of your money goes to employees' salary, benefits, and pension. It's time to stop making political patronage positions every year and start laying off some people to coincide with the budget like our families do. Memberships to East-West Gateway Coordinating Council, which is federal funds that come from Congress, is a ridiculous waste of taxpayer money. We need to have a consolidation because we have duplication of services. A prime example of that is dispatch. We have 7 PSAPs, public safety answering points, and we should narrow them down to 1 or 2 PSAPs for the county. We have, like I said, residential growth, commercial growth. We have call volume for police service. We need to make sure that we have adequate, safe backups for our police officers and call response times that are minimal. So we need police officers to be hired in this budget. We need to cut some of the non-essentials, such as the CALIA manager expenses, which is an accreditation that we pay $85,000 for a CALIA manager and over $60,000 in expenses. It's ridiculous. If the police are doing the job, they should be given the certificate without paying all this money for no reason. We have full-time public information officers in the county executive's office, the county prosecutor's office, the county police department, the county public health department, the county parks department, and we have a director that makes $107,000 over communications. And all these public information officers make about $75,000. You have 2 managers of communications, you have a coordinator in communications, you have a social media expert, you have a speechwriter, and somebody over the newsletter. That's a place to cut money to balance a budget. Let's see here. There's a cost alarm. You're being dishonest as a council. You're giving away and being a disservice and playing politics over serving the people. There's a cost allotment to the IT, for IT services, internet services, printing services, reports, binding, and staff support for the recorder of deeds, the collector of revenue, the assessor, director of elections, the sheriff, county prosecutor. And Chapter 137 covers these fees. You're mandated to provide them without harassing these elected officials. These officials are getting railroaded, in my opinion. My recommendation to these officials is to sue in state circuit court, the county council, and the county executive, because state law and our county charter takes precedent, and they need these support services to make their offices work. Now, I ask that you come up with money to pay our employees, the people in the trenches, at least a 2% pay raise, which is the cost of living for the Midwest, according to the Department of Revenue, Internal Revenue Service. I ask that you cut from the family arena. You know, there's $2.4 million in a mortgage and close to $4 million in resources and employee salaries. That's a losing situation. We don't make any money. They don't provide any income to the county. I don't even know why we built that family arena. It's time to sell it to private hands. Now let's get into salaries. We have over 32 people that I have identified that make over $104,000. We have Richard Greeno, Director of Development and Review, $104,000 in 2018. Jeff Smith, Director of Emergency Communications, $105,000. Chris Bosick, Highway Project Manager, $106,000. Ken Simmons, Family Court Administrator, $106,000. Tanya Mom, Assistant Prosecutor, $107,000. Rebecca Schaefer, Assistant Prosecutor, $108,000. Patricia Stevens, Assistant Director of Information Technologies, $110,000. Amanda Brower, Director of Roads and Bridges, $111,000. Robert Hoink, Associate County Counselor, $111,000. The Assistant Director of Finance, who I can't identify, $107,000. Jillian Anderson, the First Assistant Prosecutor, $112,000. Carrie Sullivan, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, $113,000. Beverly Temple, Associate County Counselor, $114,000. Scott Drunznick, Director of Workforce Business Development, $118,000. Steve Coble, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney 4, $118,000. Mike Hollerbert, Director of Community Development, $118,000. Daniel Keene, Director of Corrections, $115,000. William Kinley, Communication Systems Manager, $123,000. The new Director of Public Health, $122,000. Philip Grunweigel, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney 4, $126,000. And a very concerning is Jennifer George, Assistant Director of Administration, $130,000. Who in the world is she related to? Robert Schnarr, Director of Finance, $130,000. John Grushew, Assistant Director of Administration, $130,000. Tim Lohmeyer, the prosecutor, $134,000. Dave Todd, Police Chief, $138,000. Craig Chatowski, County Engineer, $143,000. And a concerning Steve Ellman, County Executive, $146,000. I ask that you cut his salary budget by 25% and his office budget by 20%. Matthew Seed, Director of Information Systems, $165,000. John Watson, County Councilor, $166,000. Joanne Lycum, Director of Administration, $192,000. Then we have a Director of Communications, a Director of Television Operations, a medical examiner, a county auditor at $104,000, a Director of Elections at $105,000, 4 police captains that make over $100,000, the county assessor at $105,000, the sheriff at $105,000, the county collector $105,000, the county recorder of deeds $105,000, the county register clerk $80,000, the director of facilities management, we have the director of humane services, the director of building code enforcement, the director of family arena, the director of aviation, the director of environmental health, the director of parks, director of human resources, director of planning, the municipal court administrator, the public administrator, the fleet management director, assistant department directors, division managers, and it comes down to 1,052 employees who are in the trenches and in the field, who Steve Ellman and his staff recommend no, why they got a 4%, or Mr. Ellman got a 4-year raise all in one whack. And I think that that's unconscionable, why people are trying to struggle and make ends meet. I ask that you take these cuts into consideration. I ask that you balance the budget. I ask that you don't listen to Mr. Schnarr anymore, that you listen to our county auditor, Mr. Statler, who has smarts and brains and can balance the budget. Let's put our heads together. Let's not rush this. Let's make sure that everybody's taken care of. And let's make sure that the people on the high food chain aren't rewarded and the people down at $65,000 and below are rewarded a 2% pay raise because you're going to give them an increase on their medical benefits. So if you have any questions, I'll answer them, or otherwise I will close.
Are there any other speakers for the public hearing?
Thank you.
No.
All right, then we close public hearing on the budget of 2020. And we go on to public comments. This is a time when anybody can come before the county council on any topic. Once a topic has been arrived at, we ask that there be 3 speakers pro and 3 speakers con, if there's that many speakers, and that the time limit is 3 minutes. Are there any speakers?
Arnie Dienoff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of council. For the record, my name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. And for the official record, I'd like to make it known that Joe Brazel and Joe Cronin stepped out for approximately 7 minutes. And I think that should be made a part of the record. Now, the official meeting minutes of this county council are a total joke. Our meeting minutes compared to St. Louis County, where they transcribe the meeting minutes, so there's no disparity, there's no difference in opinion. It's a fact. It's right there in black and white in writing. Our meeting minutes, whoever writes them, is a joke. They're inaccurate. They do not state live testimony at this podium. If you compare the proposed meeting minutes to the official video, they're vastly different. I spoke about a lady who was killed by a county employee who ran her over with a snowplow, and nobody in this county cared. Nobody apologized to the family. That wasn't in the meeting minutes. I asked for an apology from Joe Brazel, who libeled and slandered me, and if he doesn't apologize, I'm going to sue him in either federal district court or county circuit court for libelous and slanderous remarks that he made towards me at the dais. Those weren't in the meeting minutes. Today, this afternoon, I tried to call the election director, Kurt Barr, to talk about the budget and ask if he asked for any employees and if he got his demands and his services that he needs to run his office in an accurate and professional manner. Now, the internet cloud, which is our telephone system, there was a crisis once again. If you recall, I testified 2 weeks ago about this crisis. I called the Election County Authority, and for some reason, when I was being transferred, the systems crashed. I couldn't get through either main lines of the county building for 40 minutes. Finally, there needs to be an acknowledgement and a huge settlement made to the mother and the wife that a state snow fighter of our county highway department hit, ran over, and killed. Took her life from 2 young children and her husband. And I think this county should be ashamed of itself. It should properly do an internal affairs investigation, get to the bottom of it to make sure that this never, ever happens again. I am demanding that you compensate this family before they sue us in court, and we have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend with attorneys who are really going to make the money. And finally, again, I want to go on record asking Joe Brazel for an apology for libel and slander, in which he said things that weren't true. He said things that I was a convicted felon when I'm running for lieutenant governor on the statewide ballot as a Republican. This February I'll be filing for, and you can't file for that office if you're a convicted felon. I haven't been convicted for anything, even a traffic citation, like you were arrested for a red light traffic ticket.
Time's up.
And I will close. Thank you very
Time's
much.
up.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
Gabe Dubois.
Good evening. My name is Gabe Du Bois. I'm with THD Design Group. I'm here for bill number 4793 this evening and wanted to make sure that I got an opportunity to speak, so I didn't know if this would be the appropriate time or if you would like to call me up when we get to that bill.
We can do both.
Okay, great. This bill that's been introduced to you is to affirm a Board of Zoning adjustment decision on a variance application that went through a couple months ago. And I just wanted to, for your consideration, point out.
Do you want to pick up that mic right there?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Great, thank you. A couple things that we should consider with this application that may or may not have been considered before, and I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of them. There is a variance request for up to 13 feet at one point from a 50-foot setback. I'd like to notice it's not the entire building that is over the setback. That 13-foot variance is at the most extreme point right here, and it's this triangle, this wedge that's over right here, and then this little triangle and this wedge that's over right here. The reason for the request is because of the grading back here. As you push this thing back, this hill just drops off. You would chase that grade forever, or you would end up with an enormous wall. So we've proposed to place this right here. There's an existing area that's well suited for home placement in this area, and one of the things that makes it less of a obstruction is you'll see with this encroachment being this direction, right here in the curve, this property takes a funny jog right here. The curve actually comes out away from the property line a bit. It's maybe 5 feet further than the road is over here a little bit. There's an existing rock crop right here that sits up. At this point, it's about 7 feet above the proposed top of foundation. So there's a natural rock berm here that will protect the vision of this little protrusion. There's also on this side, and I realize this is not the area where the variance is being requested. There's a common ground strip over here, so there's about an extra 40 additional feet of buffer before you get to Murdoch over here. So just to recap, the 13-foot request is just at that extreme case. It's just this triangle that's right here. The foundation is sitting several feet below this existing rock crop, and the road veers away from the property line a little bit here. So I think the combination of all those things makes this a reasonable request and something that we feel comfortable asking you. So I'd be happy to answer any questions now or if if you have them later.
We'll bring it up. We're not allowed to talk to the applicant
Okay.
right now. So when you just wait until your bill comes up.
Okay, great, thank you, I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Are there any other speakers?
I have no further comment cards.
Okay, seeing that, we'll move on down the agenda to the oral report from County Executive Elman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Amanda Brower is going to present the, basically the staff's recommendations, which is also, I believe, Amanda, identical to the recommendations originally from the road board.
Yes.
And we'll present those for your final approval.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, Amanda.
All right. Good evening, gentlemen. So the introduction of the tip is on the agenda for tonight, so I'm just going to give you guys an overview of what's out there, and you'll also be getting a tip book tomorrow. We had some technical difficulties this afternoon, but we will get that to you. So this is just the vision and mission statement for the road board and the tip. We're using county dollars to construct new roads, meet the demands of new development and changes in traffic patterns, and enhance existing roads to reduce congestion and safety. This is the members of the road board. We thank them for their service. They're a great group. The priorities of the road board fund are new arterial roads and improvements to existing arterials, congestion mitigation and safety on non-arterials, as well as economic development enhancement projects. So just quickly, we've set some goals last year. Just the first was system expansion. This shows that we did indeed expand the system in multiple areas. The vehicle miles traveled and delay. So we actually had 0.75% increase in vehicle miles traveled from 2017 to 18, and a 5.8% decrease in delay. So that was a big number. I think Gateway Green Light did in fact help that. The freeways are actually becoming more congested, but the arterials have handled traffic well recently. This is actually the non-freeway performance from 2017 to 18, so you can see kind of across the board a 2% increase in speed and decrease in a 1% decrease in travel time, excuse me. So again, that is Gateway Green Light signalized corridors doing what they're supposed to be doing. In terms of safety, this is crash data from 2012 to 2017, and you will see that the crash rates have increased kind of in overall and in fatalities. So this is something that we're going to start looking at more. I recently had a meeting where Jefferson County presented their safety initiative. I'm hoping that we can implement something like that at the county level as well and try to make some safety improvements and help these numbers. So anyway, moving on to the actual tip. Since its inception, the half-cent transportation sales tax has provided $690 million in county funding to construct just under $1.4 billion in transportation improvements. That equates to, over the last 10 years, funding from 35% to 72% of total project costs coming from the county, an average of 48%. The proposed 2019 tip is $38 million in county funds to construct $110 million in improvements, so around 35% of total funding. And we're locked up. There we go. So project overview, we're recommending 42% of the funds go to new roads. That's 6 projects. 35.7 to traffic flow for 4 projects, and 16.1 to condition for 5 projects. The other ones are up there. And then this is a breakdown of where those extra funds are coming from. So MoDOT district funds is $37 million. That's for the I-70 project, which I'll talk about later. MoDOT cost share at $12.6 million. And federal funds at 9.8 made up the majority of those extra funds. So we are leveraging our dollars very well currently. Just getting down to the actual projects, new road projects were 58%. New road and reconstruction was 58% of funds. So we have Old Highway N from Old Forester to Summers. That's just an extension. And then Old Highway N Phase 2 will reconstruct the existing road from Hawks Ridge Trail to that extension. Caledonia Parkway is from the 64 Outer Road to Route DD. That's a new road. 370 ramp from Salt River to 370 southbound. David Holkel Parkway, Phase 2D is from Goodfellow to Meyer Road. That's the extension of David Holkel Parkway. Interstate Drive extension from Shaper to DHP. So these are all projects related to the interchange that will be finished in 2022 or 21, maybe. Highway N in Cottleville is from Motherhead to Mid Rivers, a reconstruction. Stump Road and Darden Prairie is Highway N to Fisey. South 5th from Fairgrounds to San Juan Drive. 61 West Outer Roads Extension is a turn lane on Winsville Parkway. Interstate Drive reconstruction is from east of Quail Ridge entrance to Prospect Dwello. That's partly MoDOT owned. We are cost sharing on that. So they are paying about 40% of that. And that's an area we get a lot of complaints about. So Congestion Mitigation, Highway DD at Streets of Caledonia and the I-64 interchange. Maggie Road interchange, you've seen before, we did supplement that slightly. They got STP funds and we now have a set project, so we gave another $800,000 on top of our $4 million that we had given before. Central School Road in St. Peter's Howell is a county highway project and adding turn lanes. And I-70 Fairgrounds to Cave Springs improvement. MoDOT, I will talk about here. So this is the big project. MoDOT has $37 million in district funds to build some of these improvements. So we wanted to get as much as we could, bang for our dollar. So we did a cost share for another $10 million. So we are at $57 million in total project costs. This will include interchange and outer road improvements. So improvements to the interchanges at Cave Springs and Zumbel, new overpass between those two interchanges, and a fourth lane added in each direction between those two interchanges. It will also complete the gap in the north outer road from Fairgrounds to Zumbel, access to the outer roads from Hawks Nest, and a revised interchange at First Capital. So we don't know exactly what these will look like yet, but it's going to be some vast improvements that we're very excited about. Safety study and other, we have one safety project, that's Piney Road from Forest Way to Stewart Springs. They're adjusting or reconstructing some curves to make that much smoother. 0.2% for the study, the Great Street study, that's $30,000 for the Frenchtown Great Streets. And smart parking, Spencer Road is some extra lanes that were identified in the Salt River ramp study that they need to add to Spencer and Premier. And then the next 370 interchange is just the design for the second ramp from north or southbound 370 or westbound to westbound Salt River Road. This is the map of those projects, and that's all I have. Let me know if you have any questions. Yes?
Amanda, did I miss it, or is the project all underway for the exit ramp at Heritage
It's-
Crossing?
It's in design.
In
So,
design.
yes. It should be under construction in the next year or so.
Okay, very good.
I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes,
You don't have to answer this now, but I'd like to know more by next meeting. We've had a lot of discussions lately in county council about community improvement districts, and we've had some people from Show Me talk about the abuse of them. I don't know if the road board was aware of it, but this Caledonia project in O'Fallon, this was in the paper. They're going to put a CID on 113 acres out there where this project is. So I guess my question would be is, if they got a CID tax for that development, do we really need to give them $3.6 million for the road? Maybe they can pay for it out of their own CID. And that being said, I would kind of like to know if the road board knew that there was going to be a CID, when they made the decision to award that $3.6 million.
We were not aware, no.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
When do we vote on when does that come about on that particular, what he's talking about, that money for Caledonia?
next week.
It's
next meeting.
included in
It's on the
the contract isn't part of the tip.
You know, Steve, we talk about this all the time, that we really can't do anything about these CIDs and so forth, and I think Mr. Cronin has an excellent point here. If they're going to do these kind of things, why are we giving them funding? And that O'Fallon, and talking about these annexation stuff, this is off subject a little bit, but that car dealership, O'Fallon's trying to do an involuntary annexation now that we just passed. So it's like, it's total government abuse in there, I think.
We had an hour meeting about this morning, so there'll be more information for you
Yeah.
before you vote on it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep,
All right, thanks, Amanda.
thank you.
Mr. Gregson?
I just wanted to point out real quickly, Amanda went through it fairly fast, but I think it's a point that's just worth noting is that for $38 million in county tax dollars, we're getting $110 million worth of road construction due to county staff and municipal staff seeking out federal and state grants. And so it's a 3 times our investment, basically, of our county tax dollars for road improvement projects. The other thing I think was really kind of critical in this is that it's obvious we have more vehicles driving each and every day, but our overall delay in the county is decreased on a per vehicle basis. And as Amanda mentioned, we're seeing more delay on the interstates. Obviously, with the Wentzville bottleneck, that problem's getting worse. But we are seeing reductions in delay on the arterial roadways, our local roads. So those are, I thought, some very key performance measures important to keep in note. The other thing is from a high-level investment, 78% of our funding from the county is going into new roads and congestion from that tax, when you took those two numbers that you put together. So once again, our high priority of where do we spend our road board money? It's building new roads and helping congestion. 78% of the dollars were going into those two categories.
That's amazing,
Mr. Chairman, may I ask John a question? Do we know what percent we're spending on the state system?
I do not know.
I mean, I will just, again, when we see our state legislators, we got to tell them, please maintain your system, let us maintain ours.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. And the other thing, since I've been asked this question more than any that I can remember in 13 years, and that is why they only did half of the David Hochul Parkway. And John has the answer, so he can tell you.
Yeah, so if you drive I-70 West, you see the abutment of the bridge on the one side, and for many, many times you looked over the railroad tracks, you didn't see any work at all, and it's because of the railroad tracks. It was getting the easements and the right-of-way needed from the railroad that's just delayed that side of the project. So it really does look kind of funny where you see almost half of an interchange built and the other half sitting dormant. Now, this weekend when I went to Jeff City, you actually can see a little mound of dirt peeking over the railroad track, so it is nice to see that they are moving some dirt now finally.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Mr. Executive?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Then we move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to remove the parks bid from the consent agenda for discussion.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Ryan? I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I think it's needed to do to turn that into an event center the way you want it. What I've got concerns with is we get one bidder, okay? And some of those companies, like Demian Construction, they did the renovation of the airport building. I mean, there's dozens of different contractors in this county that could knock out some walls and put ADA restrooms in. So what do we got to do different to get these guys to respond?
We have gone out to bid on this project twice. You may remember that we actually awarded the project once before to a company that was unable to secure the right performance bonds and insurance requirements to be actually awarded the contract. So we had to rebid that. The first go around to get the bid, we got, I think, 3 responses on that. The second go around, we advertised it again. We got 2 responses. You can see who we sent it out to. I mean, I think, we sent it out to a lot of different, contractors. Why they don't fill it out, I can't answer that.
It looked like Demian, we only got one number back. Did somebody else respond to it, though?
We, on this one here, we had A. Eilers Construction is who we're recommending awarding it to. Integra also provided a bid. It's on the second page there, which was $124,000. And then you can see the list of all the other contractors that were there that were contacted, that didn't provide a response.
But, pardon me? Okay. And I guess, is the process that difficult? I mean, somebody, I guess, needs to have the dialogue with our local contractors as why they don't bid on this stuff, okay?
I think it's really busy though, too.
Yeah.
We sent it out. And I mean,
Is this quote comparable to the initial ones that you got?
the first award was lower than this one. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to provide, get the paperwork and everything in line. Integra and A. Eilers also bid on that first go around, and they reduced their cost from that initial bid. So it is a reduction from their original price.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I got it. No problem. That's all I got a question for.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Would you like to replace it on the,
Yes, sir. Please, I'd like to make a motion to replace the parks bid on the consent agenda.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. It's back on it. We're back to the whole of the
Motion
consent
approved.
agenda.
Second.
Okay. Then motion
To approve and.
approved and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Very good. We move on to bills for final passage, beginning with 4790.
Bill number 4790, sponsored by John White, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute a program services contract with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services for violent death and overdose death surveillance reimbursement.
Very
Mr.
good.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to table Bill 4790.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah,
Okay.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4790 has been tabled. We'll move on to Bill 4791.
Bill number 4791, sponsored by John White, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a professional service agreement between St. Charles County, Missouri, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Missouri, in conjunction with the Missouri Highway Patrol as fiscal agent and Nauman Wadalawala as an independent contractor.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to table Bill 4791
Sure.
and just explain that both these bills that were tabled, and we has been 10 days between the introduction and final passage, so that's why we're tabling them.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Bill 4791 has been tabled. Moving on to bills for introduction, beginning with 4792.
Bill number 4792, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2020 budget for St. Charles County, Missouri.
Are there any questions or comments on Bill 4792? Seeing none, we'll move on to Bill 4793.
Bill number 4793, sponsored by Joe Brazel, an ordinance affirming the Board of Zoning Adjustments decision on application VAR 19-03.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4793?
I have some questions.
Yes.
Sir, you want to come back up here? You might want to go through the whole, this is Augusta Shores you're speaking of, and the lot size on this one is what, 2-point-something acres?
2.4 acres roughly.
And the average lot size in there is about 1-point-something, is that correct? Do you know?
I believe, I don't know the exact answer off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Okay, I guess the question I have for Robert or Mike or whoever's here, is Robert here? Yeah, Robert, you want to come up a minute? On this, these are private roads, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm a little confused on who sets the setback on a private road?
Well, the setback is set, there's two ways, actually. One has to do with the zoning, and then the other has to do with the building line on the plat.
So what is on the zoning, on, what was it?
50 feet. The subdivision is zoned agricultural, and so there's a 50-foot front yard setback.
So at what point does it become the front yard or the side yard?
If it borders a road or street, whether it's public or private, it's basically a front yard.
So in this instance, you could argue it's a side yard, but you're saying it's considered a front yard because it's got a yard, if it's the side of the house and it's got a road next to it, are you saying it's considered the side yard, or what are you saying?
If it borders a street, that would be considered a front yard under the county's zoning regulations.
So, okay, why is this, isn't this is not an HOA, did HOA approve this, or what happened with the HOA on this?
No, it's been submitted to the HOA, the trustees, the owner has not received a response to date, as far as I'm aware of.
Okay, so this is strictly before us, so it has not, at this point, it has nothing to do with the HOA, it's just before us on the setback, on the side setback, right?
Yes, yeah, the front yard setback.
And in order to get why did the Board of Adjustments deny it? Isn't this a true hardship?
They didn't necessarily elaborate on their comments, but a couple of comments they made. One was that they felt like there were alternative means to build on this lot without necessarily requiring a variance, and the other was that they would like to see them go to the homeowners association first. Although I would comment that that's not a requirement of our ordinance. It's, they can seek a variance before the county, but then there may or may not be private covenants that also dictate setback as well, but we don't get into that.
But even if we approve this, they still have to go to HOA, and they may have to make adjustments through them, right?
Correct. Yes.
So,
Why did you not choose to go to HOA first? Okay.
He is, I believe he's submitted plans to the HOA and is not, you're not? No, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
I'm
sorry,
kind of
sir.
the opinion of boat zoning adjustment, okay?
Sure.
I'd like to see it go to HOA first, because that's a normal way things are done.
Sure.
And to also be frank with you, if this gentleman is building a house out there, those are your neighbors. You might want to get talking to your neighbors sometimes. I don't have a problem with this if the HOA doesn't have an objection. If not, you know, there was some valid points brought up in the letters that those folks wrote to the BOA.
Would there be an option here of getting this with a condition that the HOA
Wow.
approves a final location?
you have a second reading on this?
Yes.
We're not voting on this
Correct.
tonight. So I'm gonna call, I live in Augusta, so I know folks that live over there, and I'll call a couple of them. I personally don't have a problem with it at all, because 13 feet and you're up on a bluff too. so no
It
one's
is,
gonna-
yeah, and it's sitting down below this. There's, like I said, there's going to be a natural screening here, and I believe it's just a misunderstanding of what the final product's going to look like, and I'd be happy to join the.
Well, you have is that a bluff going up in the rear or going down?
It comes up and then comes back down.
And it shoots back
And
down?
then it just dives off, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're sitting behind this knob. It comes up, right here's about 8 feet above this point right
Is
here.
that facing the river, that back part of the house?
Back here, the rear faces the river, is that correct, Phil? Yes.
Okay, so you're trying to get okay, I gotcha, yeah. Yeah, I personally don't have a problem with it at all, but the council, you know, you can talk to us come next, we don't vote on it, we vote at the next meeting.
Correct.
And I'll call some of the folks over there and see what their thoughts are. No one called me from the HOA, so I don't know if it's an issue. They have these kind of rough lots over there all over the place, so I don't know why this is an
There were
anomaly.
2 letters wrote to BOA from HOA.
Yeah, I saw a couple letters floating
That I
around
saw.
from residents.
Yeah.
Come on, sir. Come on up. No.
No.
I
Take that mic too, please.
I just saw those letters Thursday, and I submitted to Mr. Myers a response, and I don't know if you guys saw that. Are you aware of that?
No, but that's not that relevant, really.
Okay,
Yeah,
because a lot of the points in those letters
We're not
were
right.
irrelevant, because they didn't know the facts. And so I think it was important that my response was, somebody saw it.
Okay.
Yes.
I really have a hard time holding up anything to seek any HOA approval, since that's not a part of our ordinance, never has been. That's a private contract between the people that buy in that subdivision and HOH. That's not a concern of ours. I think that I would support this variance. We approved a similar variance. It was actually closer than this. I think it was 35 feet a year or two ago because of similar reasons. So I would support approving this, and I don't really understand why the Board of Adjustment didn't approve this variance.
I agree with you, Dave. I don't care what the HOA, because that's not before us. That's their decision. We can approve it, then you can deal with them. But this is the exact reason why you're given a Board of Adjustment, because you can see the hardship. You can see where that house sits, and you can see the cliff in the back and the cliff in the front. So I don't understand why they could not get a 13-foot variance. I just don't get it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I just address the council for one
Yes.
second? Just a reminder, if the council is going to reverse the Board of Adjustment, that's going to require 5 votes, and we'll have a substitute bill that would do that on final passage if that's the wish of the council.
Well, that would be with the bill, this is 2 readings, right?
Correct.
So you'll have the bill ready at the next?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
I'm just noting it will require to approve the project would require 5 votes of the council.
Also, this current bill is for denial of it, so you'd have to have a substitute for
Correct.
approval.
That's what he
We would
I think
substitute
you
an
need to prepare
approval.
that second one as well.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then we'll move on to Bill 4794.
Bill number 4794, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance approving the Transportation Improvement Plan for fiscal years 2020 through 2022 and corresponding intergovernmental agreements.
Are there any questions or comments on Bill 4794? Seeing none, we'll move on to Bill 4795.
Bill number 4795, sponsored by John White, an ordinance approving execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services for a grant award in the amount of $94,000 to combat opioid abuse.
Are there any comments on Bill 4795? Seeing none, we'll move on to Bill 4796.
Bill number 4796, sponsored by John White, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an agreement with the University of Missouri Extension Council of St. Charles County to provide educational programs and services at a cost to the county of $100,000.
Are there any questions or comments on Bill 4796? Seeing none, move on to Bill 4797.
Bill number 4797, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance amending sections 115.100, 115.110, 115.170, 115.320, 115.420, 115.430, 115.460, 115.660, 115.670, 115.710, 115.720, 115.721, 115.722, 115.800, and 115.1000 of the Ordinance of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, and deleting Section 115.120 OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits.
Could you repeat that, Claire? Is there any questions or comments on Bill 4797?
That was me.
Seeing none, that
I asked Samantha to give us a little recap of what this really does. There's a lot of changes in it prior to next meeting, maybe. Do you want to do it next meeting? Yeah, if you don't mind.
okay. All right, very good. Is there any other questions or comments on Bill 4797? Seeing none, that closes bills for introduction. If there are any bills to remove off the table? Seeing none, is there any, go on to announcements and miscellaneous?
I have an announcement again.
Yes.
I'm gonna pound this one in again, guys. This weekend, December 6th and 7th, and December 13th and 14th is the annual Historic Daniel Boone Christmas Walk. They'll have thousands of candles lit. Ryan, you said you wanted to say something, or you want me to just, are you?
I think you said you.
How are the ticket sales? Are we sold out yet?
They're going really good, so I would suggest if you want to go, please go online and try to find a time slot.
And I will tell you guys, they do sell out, because I tried to get some last year, the last couple days, and they were all sold out, both
Maybe
weekends.
The first year, we're all 4 nights will eventually sell out, so we're getting close. So.
Yeah, and so that's a great weekend for anybody who's lived in St. Charles County, has not been there. You're missing a really cool thing. It really is. And one more thing, we have the Christmas parade on Saturday. It's going to be honoring veterans. Our sheriff will be leading the parade with his sirens wailing like he does every year. He loves it. Right, Scott? And there's a dog, we got a bunch of dogs, animals, horses, and of course all the tractors that you guys mentioned last week or last meeting. And it will be honoring veterans, so we'll have a lot of veteran trucks and Jeeps and stuff like that. A lot of World War II veterans are marching in it. Well, a lot, but some. And so it's a really big deal. We'll have a couple hundred, we had over 100 floats last year, so I don't know what we'll have. They got thousands of flags down there now. They already put them all out, so it's really going to be cool. So come on down on Saturday. It starts at 12.
All right, very good. Sounds like fun. Any other announcements?
I would like to recognize Scott Drochnik. So Scott is leaving the county, but not leaving the county. Scott was just named as the new, is it director or president of the EDC? It is president. Scott is the new president of the Economic Development Center of St. Charles County. They did a nationwide search and found out our best guy was right here at home, which I think we probably knew that before they started the nationwide search. But I didn't know if you were going to be here at the next meeting, but I wanted to say officially, thank you for everything you've done at Workforce and Business Development. You've been a fantastic leader there, and you've done a great job for our county. And I, for one, am extremely excited that you're going to be the guy at the EDC. I can't imagine that we could have found a better person. So congratulations. We'll miss you, but we will see you around very soon, I'm sure.
And thank you for that preview of the county executive's announcement on the 16th.
Oh, sorry, were you going to say that? My bad. He didn't tell me ahead of time.
Where is,
Scott's right there.
you are going to be here the next meeting, aren't you?
Unless you tell me I can't be, yes.
Well, you assured me the other day that you're still working for us. Until when?
At your pleasure. My last official day in the office will be January 6th.
All right, well, I'll see if I can outdo Congressman Elam in my praise.
Congressman, that's awesome.
Councilman, I'm sorry.
I'll take the pay raise. That works out well.
Yeah, but you got to sit through the impeachment inquiry.
I thought that's what public comment was. Sorry, just kidding.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.